Reeves Immigration Law Group now brings you immigration law on your side.
Alright, magandang gabi po mga kababayan and happy Wednesday night once again from Las Vegas, Nevada. And syempre kasama natin si Atty. Diza, nanggagaling po sa San Francisco, California, tonight on Immigration Law on Your Side. Mga kababayan, isa ito sa mga itinanong nyo sa amin over the past few years actually that we've been here. We talked about this a few times already, but tonight, we will dive deep into the RFE, Request for Evidence, mga kababayan. Ilan nito sa mga kinatatakutan ng ating mga kababayan when submitting something sa immigration. Alam niyo naman that there's a potential that you might receive a Request for Evidence o yung tinatawag na RFE. If you receive an RFE, you will need to supply the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services or USCIS with additional information so that they can process your application. It is essential for you to handle the RFE correctly and in a timely manner. Failure to do so will result maybe in unnecessary processing delays and could even lead to the denial of your application. So kasama po natin tonight, as usual, si Atty. Diza, partner at Reeves Immigration Law Group, coming from California, mga kabigan, sa San Francisco, California, who will be discussing tonight with us RFE or Request for Evidence and how to handle it and to avoid denial of your application. So Atty. Diza, magandang gabi po sa iyo.
Magandang gabi Kuya Johan. It's another Wednesday. Ano po, nasa Mayo na tayo at next month June na, nasa kalagitnaan na tayo ng taon at medyo maganda na ang weather dito sa Northern California at hopefully wala na tayong mga pagbaha at pagulan. But anyway, binabati natin lahat ang mga viewers and listeners natin at pag-usapan natin is the request for evidence. Very common ngayon, lalong-lalo na yung may mga waiver for interviews na for adjustment of status. So instead of calling you for an interview, they will send what we call a request for evidence. So ano ba ang request for evidence? Tinatawag nating RFE. Ang request for evidence, mga kababayan, ay notification yan galing from USCIS. At sila ay nagbibigay ng information sa aplikante, right, or petitioner para i-continue ang pag-process at ano pa ang kulang, ano pa ang kailangan nila sa pag-process ng inyong application or petition. So nakakatanggap kayo ng notice from them at nakalagay doon kung ano yung mga supporting documents at mga other evidence na kailangan nyo i-submit para sa inyong application. Now, usually yan mga kababayan, mas maganda yung makatanggap kayo ng request for evidence kasi yung outright denial. Kasi may mga sitwasyon where you file an application and based on the documents and supporting the forms and supporting documents you submitted, hindi kayo eligible, they can outrightly deny your application. So mahirap naman po, lalong-lalo na yung mga applications na may mga filing fees, at karamihan actually na mga applications and petitions may mga filing fees. So saan ba nila ini-issue ito ng USCIS? Kailan at saan para sa ang petition or application? So lahat ng mga benefits or petition with USCIS. So kasama po dyan yung immigrant visa petition sa inyong asawa, sa inyong anak, sa inyong magulang o mga kapatid. Ito yung Form I-130. So pag kulang po ang evidence sa pagpa-file ng petition po ninyo, pwede sila mag-issue ng request for evidence. Now, pwede rin nilang issue sa mga nag-apply ng adjustment of status o yung green card dito sa US o nagpa-file ng work permit, pwede rin. Yung mga H-1Bs, yung mga L-1s, lahat ng klaseng applications mga kababayan, diba? Or asylum, or any kind of immigration benefit. So, they will issue a request for evidence if USCIS think that and believe that your application is incomplete. So it's really important na either kayo po ay mag-consult ng immigration attorney para alamin kung ano yung kompletong requirements or basahin po ninyo ng gusto ang forms at instructions ng USCIS. Ito po yung request for evidence. Ibig sabihin, you are given chance to correct or to supplement your application para makompleto ang kanilang decision whether to approve or grant your application.
Ito pong RFE na ito, attorney, pinadadala po ito via mail,
By mail, by email, at saka kung meron kayong account, yung USCIS account, pwede rin yung makita doon. So, or sa abogado ninyo or sa representative. So, they'll send it through your representative or lawyer as well.
Okay. As I'm sure, iba't ibang nature kung bakit nabibigyan ng RFE. How do you respond to this, attorney? What are the types of responses that we can submit back to the USCIS?
So yung request na yun, Kuya Johan, essentially, they will, unang-una, ano bang nilalaman nito, di ba? So, ang kailangan yung malaman ay USCIS will make sure na tama yung ginagawa nila. So, they state kung ano yung application. Like, for example, in January of 2023, you applied for adjustment of status, right? And then you submitted the following supporting documents and forms, etc. And under the law, ito yung kailangan mo. So, yun yung statement of the facts, statement of the law, and then ano yung requirements, at saka ano yung kulang mo. So, for example, in that situation, sasabihin sa'yo that your adjustment of status is based on marriage, right? So, we want to see the joint assets and documents showing that you and your petitioner are living together. So, we request the following documents. So, sasabihin nila sa'yo, like, they enumerate, Kuya Johan, ano ba yung mga acceptable joint documentation. So like, for example, isa-isa nila, like joint filing of income tax, joint bank accounts, joint credit card accounts, what else? Properties, mortgage statements, car insurance, medical insurance, photographs together, affidavit support, affidavit of from family members and friends, di ba? Knowing the relationship. So specific is a very specified nila doon, Kuya Johan. Mm-hmm. So for you to respond, no, yung tinatawag natin yung full response. So kung inaisa-isa ng immigration yan, right, yung kung kailangan nila, then you have to address every single request, right? So yun yung full response. So either they would say na kailangan ko ng joint document, and then enumerate nila yung kung ano yung kailangan nila. And then yung other aspeto would be, wala tayong medical exam. You need to submit also medical exam. Or additionally, okay, nag-expire na yung 2020, 2023 or 2021 income tax ninyo, right? Yung presumption is you already filed your 2022. We also need to see the affidavit supporting documents like your petitioner's income tax. So yun yung posible nilang i-request doon sa application ninyo. So, in order for you to respond, yung nabanggit mo kanina, how to respond is either yung full response where you have to include every requested documents on the joint documents that they ask and explain why you don't have it. Right? So, let's say lease contract. Saan nasa yung lease contract ninyo? Mm-hmm. So, if you don't have a lease contract, you have to state the reason. Right? For example, we are staying at my mother's place and we don't pay rent. We just contribute to the groceries, etc. So in that situation, instead of providing lease contract, mag-provide po kayo ng statement galing sa inyo, right, petitioner or beneficiary, and galing din sa inyong landlord na saying that, yes, we allow our son and his wife to stay with us, right, for this number of years or this number of months, and they're just contributing to the groceries para ma-supplement yun. Yun yung full response, Kuya Johan. Now, yung partial naman, let's say, in-specify nila yung requested documents, kagaya limbawa, or nasa yung birth certificate ng petitioner, ng beneficiary, right? And since you were petitioning and out of wedlock na anak, right, kailangan pa namin ng more evidence, like, hindi ikaw ang nakapangalan na tatay doon sa, or rather, you were not married when the child was born, ano pa yung other evidence like baptismal certificate or school records or taxes and support. So, in that situation, pwedeng partial. Like, kasi hindi mo naman ma-accommodate or ma-comply lahat yan. But of course, you have to explain also to the best of your knowledge why you are submitting. In this two situation, Kuya Johan, if you satisfy the requirements and USCIS believe that you satisfy the requirements, and they will most likely approve your case. Now, if you opt not to respond, right, to respond rather dun sa application, ito yung no response at all, then your application will be denied for abandonment, right? So, mga kababayan, it's really important na mag-respond kayo kasi sayang naman yung i-file nyo application or petition. So, if you don't respond, it will be denied for abandonment. And also, i-remind na rin natin sa mga kababayan natin that if you change address, you have to inform USCIS. right? Kasi if they sent you the request for evidence and you did not respond on time, then most likely, your application will be denied. You can always refile, but, with the filing fees and professional fees masyadong mahal kung, nakalimutan nyo or hindi nyo na-file ang inyong response.
Have there been any instances, attorney, na nawawala yung mail? Hindi naman nila natanggap talaga. Wala silang natanggap, hindi sila nag-respond. Can you contest that sa USCIS na wala kang natanggap?
Yes, you can actually. The consequence of not responding would most likely be denial. So what you're going to do is you're going to file a motion to reopen, yung application ninyo, saying that you never received the request for evidence. So you're demanding USCIS to show that it was sent to you and it was accepted by you or any of your representative. Kasi ang problema diyan, Kuya Johan, kung let's say return receipt yan at hindi bumalik sa kanila, ang presumption is hindi mo tanggap. Right? But if immigration, usually kasi ang immigration, Kuya Johan, pag hindi bumalik sa kanila, right, yung kanilang mail, ang presumption is natanggap ninyo or nakuha ninyo at na-deliver sa inyo. So whether yung delivery would mean na natanggap ninyo, right, hindi mo pwedeng sabihin na may kasambay kasi ako, baka kinuha o baka itapon because of the junk mail, then most likely hindi yan nila ino-honor, di ba? So kung hindi bumalik sa kanila yung mail, right, then probably hindi nila tawag nito i-consider. But explore all the options, mga kababayan, kasi kung dinina yung application nyo and your son or yung beneficiary na pinipetition po ninyo is already aged out, di ba? So let's say final yun, 19 years old yung bata, and then nagulat ka na lang, 22 years old na yung bata, nakakuha kayo ng denial saying that, you abandoned your application because you have not responded to our request, di ba? 23 or 22 na yung bata. So the best option there, of course, is to fight the case that, especially if you didn't receive the request, that it should be reopened based on lack of notice or lack of service.
Attorney, nagkaroon na tayong mga kwento with our kababayans na finorward naman namin yung yung address kasi lumipat sila ng apartment, ng bahay, sa post office finorward daw nila. Hindi nila natanggap yung mga galing sa USCIS. So mga kaibigan, ang sabi ni attorney ay dapat mismo sa USCIS mismo mag-notify ng change of address. Ano po, attorney?
Yes, hindi po enough yung mag-notify kayo sa postal office, di ba? Kasi sasabihin mo, all notices should be forwarded to this new address. At siyempre, obligasyon po ninyo yan sa post office din para hindi sila nahirapan at lahat ng mga important documents ay makukuha ninyo. So it's not enough to show na sinabihan nyo ang post office. It's really important, mga kababayan, that you change address online or email out ninyo yung request nyo sa USCIS of new address, new contact information, kung may bagong telephone number kayo or email, isama na rin ninyo yan. Kasi there are situations na ngayon nag-issue na ang USCIS ng request for evidence or even decision through emails. So watch out for your emails, update your emails, and most importantly, update your address.
All right. Attorney, I'm gonna backtrack a little bit. Itong RFE na ito, obviously it's a document that's sent to our kababayans or those who are waiting for some sort of an immigration benefit na final nila. Attorney, how does this look? Ano bang template nito? Ilang pages ba ito pagka humihingi sila ng mga evidence pa?
Yeah, depende sa hinihingi ng USCIS, Kuya Johan. Normally, it ranges from 2 pages to 20 pages.
Wow.
Right? Lalo na yung mga H-1Bs where they would say na, is this a specialty occupation? But they cite the law, they cite the precedents, they cite the court decisions, right, INAs and everything. So yung request for evidence, Kuya Johan, is as we mentioned, it's a notice. Usually yan is called request for evidence at form I-79E. E stands for evidence. As we mentioned kanina, yung request for evidence, mayroong template na sila. Pinapalitan yung pangalan at syempre inaano na rin dun sa, depende kung ano hiningi sa inyo. So usually yan, they will state the facts that on this particular date you applied for a benefit, and this is what the law says, that when you're petitioning for a family member, you're out of wedlock, illegitimate children, right? These are the requirements. Kailangan mo establish yung parent-child relationship before the child turns 18. So nasaan yung evidence that you have acknowledged and supported the child, right, bago mag-18 yung bata. Now, this is what you submitted. Ang sinabit mo lang sa amin. So, yun yung pangatlo ko yun. They state the facts, they state the law, and they also provide kung ano yung sinabmit mo. So, for example, yun sa petitioning out of wedlock na anak, ang sinabit lang ninyo ay yung form, yung filing fee, yung birth certificate ng bata, and then yung tawag nito, yung inyong citizenship or naturalization. So, what they want to see is ano pa yung required evidence. So, kasama yun, and that's really important, yun po ang babasahin ninyo, right? That we need to show that you have established parent-child relationship before the child turned 18. So, kailangan natin ng nasa yung acknowledgement mo, nasa yung support mo, you were already in the US, di ba, nung pinanganak ng bata, right? You cannot just say that you have a child if you don't show any relationship. So, you cannot just petition someone else, right? And claiming na anak mo to kahit nakalagay pa ang pangalan mo sa birth certificate ng bata, di ba? That's not enough. You have to have those documents. So, for example, ang kailangan namin sa'yo would be showing that you established that relationship, right? Like baptismal, nasa yung baptismal certificate ng bata, nasaan yung school records ng bata, di ba? Ikaw ba nakalagay na tatay? Meron ka bang income tax showing that he is your child? Nung the child went to the doctor, ikaw ba ang nakalagay na parent or guardian? You know, stuff like that. Or remittances. Kung wala ka na sa piling ng bata, nasa yung support mo. Diba? So you have to go back, you know, in time and probably request years ago kung ano yung Western Union man yan or that through bank to bank that you are sending support doon sa nanay ng bata. So yun Kuya Johan, they also specify yung required evidence and of course, importantly, yung deadline, right? How many days given to you? Usually, it ranges from 30 days to 90 days. So you have to complete all the documentations before the deadline and file it before the deadline to make sure na matanggap nila at the deadline date.
So how are you going to respond, attorney? Susulatan mo din sila pabalik? You mail? Is there some sort of like a self-addressed envelope na ito, babalik mo na lang ito or you're on your own?
You're on your own. There are situations na hindi sila nagbibigay ng self-addressed envelope. What they require is put the request. So let's say ito yung 2 pages na request for evidence or 20 pages pa yan, nasa on the top of your request. Yun ang una nilang sasabihin sa inyo. And of course, yung pala sa laman ng RFE, Kuya Johan, nandun din kung saan mo ipadadala. So it doesn't mean that if you file the application sa Texas Service Center o sa Laguna Niguel, no, yung sa California Service Center, it doesn't mean na doon din mo ipadadala. So at the end of the request for evidence, doon mo makikita that send all these documents to this address. So either service center pa rin or yung mga local offices na, like Las Vegas Field Office, doon mo ipadadala, or Fresno Field Office, Los Angeles. So maka-specify doon kung saan mo ipadadala. So basically, pag nakompleto na ninyo yung inyong mga documents, i-package nyo yan, right? If you want to prepare a cover letter and explain why you cannot provide, that's very important. So, kung kayo ding cover letter, right? And by the way, the reason why USCIS wants your RFE to be on top, kasi meron ng barcode dyan eh. So, usually when you go to the immigration, ginagan lang nila, di ba? Parang binabaril lang ng ganon para yung barcode would automatically transported into the system or mag-appear sa system nila na hindi nila ikikiin pa yung case number mo, di ba? Kasi yung case number mo niyan consists of several letters and numbers. So, itong barcode na yan, very easy ang trabaho na ng USCIS, babarin and mag-appear sa kanilang sistema to make sure that, natanggap nila yung application at re-review na nila. So, yun. At of course, cover letter would be very important, especially if you if you have to explain something. Otherwise, pwede na rin magkasunod-sunod lang. Let's say kung mayroon silang mga request 1, 2, 3, and then 1, ABC, ganyan. Pagkasunod-sunod lang ninyo ang inyong pagsagot. So, it's better either po mga kababayan, i-clip ninyo or i-fastener ninyo para hindi sila hiwa-hiwalay. So, importante yan pag kayo po nag-submit ng request for evidence.
Has there been a case, attorney, na sasabihin mo, sasagot mo na, pinadala na namin ito before? Can you say that we've sent this document before? Or you should just comply? Padala mo na lang uli?
Yes, that really happens many times, and sometimes you are just client will be mad at you. Since attorney, bigay ko na yan, bakit hiningi na naman, di ba? So you have to go back and look at your application. Yeah, we submitted it. Nandito yan sa ating enumerated documents and forms. Right? So what we're going to do is submit it again. Ganun lang naman yung Kuya Johan. Ang hirap kasi na we submitted it. Paano kung nawala, let's say, kasi di ba pag tinanggap yung applications mo, hindi naman din ang officer kaagad ang magre-review yan.
Right.
So, dadaan din sa mailing system nila yan. Paano kung nawala or,
nahulog.
Nahulog. Hindi na pinulot yung 2x2 ID picture mo. Di ba? So, o naihalo sa iba, hindi na malaman kung ito ba si Pedro, ito si Juan. So, tinabi na lang niya. So, ngayon yung officer, pag nakuha yung file mo at nakitang wala yung documents na hinahanap, just comply, right? Just comply. And you can always say that, as previously submitted, on our applications dated so and so, we again submit these request documents, etc. So,
I'm sorry to cut you off, attorney. I'm sure, as an attorney, meron kayong mga best practices that you can recommend to our kababayans on how to avoid in the first place yung mga RF. Katulad ng sinabi nyo, i-clip, paper clip nyo na yung mga. So, what are the best practices para hindi na magkaroon ng RFE?
Unang-una, Kuya Johan, would be read the instructions dun sa forms. Well, if you don't want to read yung long instructions ng USCIS, hire an attorney and the attorney does everything for you. Siyempre, pero kami din naman, binibigay din namin sa iyo kung anong mga requirements. Mayroon tayong checklist yan. And of course, pag nagkukonsulta ang mga kliyente, Kuya Johan, I always tell them that, look, we cannot file your application if it's incomplete, right? It's just not right. And there's a probability that it will delay your case or deny your case. Now, in the past, during the pandemic, mga kababayan, yung medical examination for green card dito sa US, yung mga nag-green card dito sa US, right? USCIS recommends na huwag i-submit ang medical. The reason being that may expiration kasi yung Kuya Johan. Di ba? Pag 1 year nang lumipas at hindi ka pa binibigyan ng green card, right, pwede nalang i-deny. Pwede nilang i-request ulit. It's of course, mahal din ang medical examination, di ba?
Right.
It's accredited medical, you have to do your vaccinations, etc., your COVID vaccine and other vaccines, TB, tuberculosis, etc. And you have to pay the doctor. And ang medical ngayon ranges from 500 to 1,000 na. Right? So, medyo mahal din. So, what we advise our client is wag muna mag-submit, di ba? Dahil baka mag-expire. And yun din ang recommendation ng USCIS based on their website. And syempre, ngayon, dahil sa waiver interview, lahat naman nagre-request ng medical. And of course, client would come to us, attorney, bakit hindi natin sinabit to? Di ba? So, then you have to explain then, patiently explaining that, look, ito yung policy ng immigration noon, this is what the instruction says, that's why we complied. Di ba? Kasi ayaw namin, magbayad kayo ng doble on your medical exam. So, yun mga kababayan, read carefully yung instructions, kung ano mga kailangan when you file an application.
And I guess,
aside from that, tignan din natin yung proper filing fees. Right? Tama ba yung filing fees mo? Kanino mo ito ipapangalan? Di ba? Yung iba, Department of State ba? Department of Homeland Security ba? USCIS ba? So make sure that, the instructions are, you read the instructions and pay the appropriate filing fees. Kasi minsan, Kuya Johan, yung sa adjustment of status ng bata below 14 ay iba doon sa mga adult applicants, di ba? So, akala ng iba is pareho. So, make sure that you read the instructions. Yung iba naman na applications walang biometrics fee, right? Yung iba naman meron. So, even if the best practice, let's say, ginawa ng pinsan ko yan last month or last year, alam ko na ang lahat, ibinigay sa akin yung requirements, you have to read the instructions kasi nga nagbabago yan. Unang-una yung forms, right? Yung forms, Kuya Johan. So USCIS continuously updates their forms. So kailangan na ang form na isasubmit mo ay valid kasi kung hindi na valid yan, they can reject your application that would cause delay. So yun mga tips natin sa mga kababayan natin. And of course, mas maganda siguro kung mayroon kayong checklist, right, doon sa harapan na ito yung may sasubmit mo, right, just to make sure that you have the list, ano ba sinabit mo, hindi tipong stock mo lang lahat ng mga forms and supporting documents sa isang package without knowing kung ano yon. So it's really important kung specify mo kung ano yon para let's say mag-request sila in the future or deny nila, di ba, na hindi mo submit. You have that list and you have that forms. And of course, important mga kababayan, is i-photocopy ninyo everything you file with USCIS kasi they might say na wala ito, we can deny you. And especially kung naghahabol kayo ng oras dahil may deadline kayo or yung bata mag-age out, di ba? So it's really important to save everything that you filed para maipakita sa lawyer o sa immigration that you provided everything. And there's no basis for the denial of your application.
All right. So mga kababayan, for those who just joined us tonight on immigration law on your side, pinag-uusapan po natin ang request for evidence. Sometimes you will receive this, especially if you're waiting for something na isanabit nyo na sa USCIS. And after a while, you're going to receive this. Pinag-uusapan natin ngayon, mga kababayan, is kung paano mag-respond, ano ang timeline, ang deadlines, and everything. No? And some of you dread the fact that you are receiving an RFE, but ilan din ang nagtanong sa atin, attorney, that there is another thing such as the notice or intent to deny ng USCIS. Some people will receive that. Ito namang RFE is mas maganda pa naman ito compare dito sa notice to deny, ano, attorney?
Yes, ang notice of intent to deny, Kuya Han, is mas mahirap yan. In fact, mas mahal din pag nag-hire ka ng attorney because technically there is a kumbaga negative or derogatory records, immigration records on your part, right? So notice ang NOID, yung notice of intent to deny, is a notice given to you that they intend to deny your application, right? Kailangan mong aksyonan kaagad to. It's more serious actually than request for evidence, kasi yung request for evidence is incomplete yung documentation mo lang, Kuya Johan, or probably ano pa ba, kulang yung forms kasi yung mga forms ngayon, lalo na ang naturalization, more than 20 pages na.
Wow.
Minsan sa review mo, baka hindi mo naisingit or nailagay yung other page kasi nire-review mo or pinalitan mo tapos kulang ka, then they could accept your application and request for evidence. Pero itong notice of intent to deny, Kuya Yon, usual common dito scenario would be yung marriage fraud. So for example, you file an adjustment of status based on marriage, right? And then you went to the interview, and then you were separated at the interview and made several inconsistent statements dun sa asawa mo, di ba? So, ang daming mali, ang daming major inconsistent statements. And then, eventually, naghiwalay na kayo ng asawa mo, and then dininin nila yung petition mo, right? And they're charging you of marriage fraud because of the inconsistent statements. Now, you found another love, right? You get married again, and then nag-petition ulit yung asawa sa inyo for the I-130. Now, just because of your derogatory records, di ba, they can say that yung napag-usapan natin that the marriage fraud consequence, di ba, mabigat yan because lifetime ban ka for any other future petitions. So, sasabihin nila sa'yo that you married, this US citizen and filed an adjustment, and this is the finding of USCIS, di ba, that you committed marriage fraud. And therefore, even if you have children now with this petitioner, right, we intend to deny you because under the 204C of the Immigration and Nationality Act, you are barred for any future application. Wow. So given that timeline, bibigyan ka lang ng 30 days to respond. So you really have to hire an attorney if that's the situation, lalo na kung very serious ang accusation sa'yo. That's very common sa mga immigrant petitions, Kuya Johan. It's just an example ng notice of intent to deny, right? And then pangalawa, yung mga, let's say, nag-asawa kayo ng US citizen, right? Legit yung kasal nyo, bumili pa kayo ng properties, maganda trabaho nyo, you live happily, you live harmoniously and happily, and you love each other. Kaya lang, yung petitioner pala, mayroong serious criminal records. Let's say, that person, the petitioner, was convicted of child molestation or rape. So in that situation, mayroong prohibition din sa kanila under Adam Walsh Act, di ba? Kasi ayaw ng immigration that they're petitioning family, especially may mga anak, that they would do the same thing. So, pwede din nilang i-deny yan. So, but before they'll deny the application, they'll give you the opportunity to respond on the notice of intent to deny.
Wow. Okay. So mga kababayan, nalinaw yan. Isa sa mga itinatanong nyo, yung notice of intent to deny. Attorney, balikan natin yung RFE. After you've submitted your response, what's next? Maghihintay ka na lang ng another few months or something? Will you be receiving a notice that they have received your packet?
The good thing about receiving an RFE, lalo kung natutulog yung petition or application for months already, ibig sabihin nasa officer na yan. So ibig sabihin due for decision na, di ba? Kaya sila nire-review kasi decision, right for decision. So once you submit, Kuya Yon, they're given like very few weeks siguro. I would say 60 days at the maximum, right? Siguro a month time. Especially yung palagi natin pinag-uusapan ngayon na mayroon ng waiver interview sa mga marriage-based cases, right? Yung mga nire-request na lang nila would be very common ngayon at this point in time. Like we are now in May of 2023. Yung mga nag-adjust ng status through marriage or family-based, ang common request for evidence would be medical. Kasi during pandemic, as we mentioned, hindi natin sinasubmit yan. Right? And then pangalawa would be proof that you are a couple, right? That you live together in one room. Kasi nga, wala one house, wala nang interview. So instead, in lieu of that interview, yun na yung request for evidence nila. That's why ang practice namin ngayon, especially sa mga marriage-based cases, when we file an application, we submit the, the medical examination already, the sealed one, and we also provide joint documentations already. In that situation, wala lang RFE, we have seen cases na ina-approve na nila right away without an RFE because we already complied everything, you know, doon sa initial filing. Pero doon sa request for evidence, as you mentioned, Kuya Johan, yung sa mga experience namin dito, after 1 week, 2 weeks, may mga kikita na natin sa kanilang online account na approve na yung kanilang applications. So very fast ang transition once you comply with the request for evidence.
Has there been a case, attorney, na after you submitted the initial RFE response, they respond to you with another RFE for like, oh, ito pa, may kulang ka pa, additional RFE?
There's a possibility if your case is quite complicated. Let's say that's a possibility, Kuya Johannes. Second, third request for evidence, and sometimes they call you for an interview. So in a situation where yung nabanggit natin kanina, you know, the beneficiary allegedly committed marriage fraud, or yung mga mayroong waiver, Kuya Johan, where they committed serious crimes or they committed misrepresentation. So let's say dun sa misrepresentation, right, tatanungin nila yung mag-RF sila about the bona fides of your relationship, yung joint documents mo. So after you comply, meron akong client na where's the hardship? Although we submitted we think is strong enough hardship, ang immigration would still like, okay, we need some more evidence of the hardship, right? So yun, posible rin yun. So in the situation where ang petitioner hindi extreme hardship or walang medical condition, di ba, that would reach to the level of extreme hardship, we require our clients to do a psychological evaluation. Kasi how do you prove hardship kung walang sakit, you know, or medical illness yung petitioner? So more of like psychological, emotional, financial hardship, and that can be shown through a psychological examination or report. So yun ang isa-supplement natin or ito-provide natin sa request for subsequent request for evidence.
Are you able to make a follow-up, attorney, just in case nag-submit ka na ng RFE, and then after a while, wala kang nakikitang movement, walang receipt, hindi mo nakita online, will you be able to follow up na, hey, we responded to the RFE?
Very common yan, Kuya Johan, and a lot of clients are very impatient, right? And we always put ourselves in the shoes of our clients. Of course, you know, may mga sitwasyon kasi na lalo na yung mga medyo complicated ang cases, right? Anxious sila with the result. Yes, we are required to make a follow-up within usually 60 to 90 days. Right? We tell them that, look, it's been sitting with you for this much time. We need you to decide this. And sometimes with lawyers' strategy, we always like threaten them na like we're gonna sue you in court. You know, yung mandamus na sinasabi natin that you're not acting on your job. So, but sometimes, a lot of times, rather, ang mga immigration officers, lalo yung mga supervisors, they get back to us. It's still under review. Thank you for your patience. You know, ganun din ang sagot nila. They cannot tell us the reason. Right? Sometimes it happens many times that there is in the system that they need to resolve and we don't know what are those, or probably they are consulting their legal department on how to resolve the issue.
Wow, okay. Mga kaibigan, for those who are just joining us right now, we're talking about request for evidence. If you received one, we'd like to find out, attorney, how does one get help? With, of course, obviously with our friends from Reeves Immigration Law Group, saan po sila dudulog pagka nagkaroon sila ng ganitong RFE at hindi nila maintindihan? Paano po ang proseso nito? Will they be able to contact you and ask for help?
Yeah, it's really critical, especially if limited yung time po ninyo na binibigay, right? Whether 30 days yan or 60 days or 90 days. It's critical that you act very fast, right? Lalo-lalo na yung mga requirements that you don't have in your possession. Like yung divorce decree ng asawa mo, yung pangalawang divorce niya, and the divorce was held in Guam, right? Or in somewhere else outside the US. So, they want a certified copy of your police report or criminal convictions. So, it's not easy to gather, especially if not easy to gather those evidence. You have a limited time, to submit those requests for evidence. So it's really important for you to consult an attorney. Kung kayang-kaya po ninyo at nasa disposal nyo yung na evidence or documents na yan, it's okay to respond right away, because the earlier you respond, you don't have to wait for the actual deadline. So if you have it now, submit mo na kaagad, and hopefully you'll get the result in 1 week or 2 weeks. Right? But if you think that the request for evidence is really difficult, right? And you think that you need assistance from the lawyer, you consult right away, because we have time to either pull out your records, review everything on your file, and also if the lawyer needs to prepare a legal brief, right? Yung pag-usapan natin kanina that petition is subject to the Adam Walsh Act, where they are not allowed to petition if they have prior conviction of sexual offenses, unless may mga exception din doon, di ba, that they're no longer threat to to the spouse or to others, etc. At may mga psychological evaluation din. So you really have to have a very good legal brief to convince immigration that beyond reasonable doubt you are no longer threat to others. So that's really important, and this is why we're here at Reeves Immigration Law Group. Kuya Johan, we provide you with yung consultation on how to navigate, how to explain, how to provide the request for evidence. If you want representation, that's also okay, for us to take over the case moving forward.
All right. Okay. Attorney, maraming salamat. Marami tayong naibigay na naman na information sa ating mga kababayan, and all those who are waiting for their petitions or their applications from the USCIS. And especially if you have received an RFE, you need to comply with that. Nabigyan po natin kayo ng konting information, or a wealth of information actually, about how to respond to your RFE. Attorney, at this point, I'll give you this time to address our audience and our sa law firm natin, ang ating mga clients, and of course, yung ating I'm sure you would want to invite your friends and colleagues again to your conference in Florida coming up very soon.
Yes, malapit na, Kuya Johan. It's going to be next month na, no? Few days na lang before the start of the conference. This is one of the biggest annual conference ng immigration lawyers, of course, especially after the pandemic, where we've done conferences by Zoom lang, kaya ginagawa natin, and virtual, and through WebEx. But this time it's in person, and we are expecting thousands of immigration lawyers and advocates all throughout the US and all throughout the world, kasi marami rin mga practitioners outside the US, mga immigration lawyers dealing with the embassies, and of course that is going to be in Orlando in from June I think 20 up to the 24th, and we'll also be attending yung criminal immigration, the same venue. At maraming salamat ulit, Kuya Johan, at sa PHLV Radio sa patuloy nating pagbibigay lingkod sa ating mga listeners and viewers about US immigration. Alam natin maraming mga Pilipino na nandito, marami pa rin ang walang status at naghihintay ng tawag ito ng immigration reform, right? If you have a family member, don't wait for the immigration reform. It's not going to happen, although we pray really hard that it's going to be under Biden administration, but it looks like it's not going to happen ng immigration reform. Your best option still is to avail of any benefits or petitions na available kayo ngayon. Kung may magulang kayo, kahit over 21 na kayo, nandito kayo, TNT, wala status, try to start something, di ba? Petition, file that petition, consult an immigration attorney if there's a possibility of filing a U visa if you are a victim of crime, right? Or if you, what do you call this? If you are a victim of crime or you have a fear of going back to your home country. Now, dito sa Reeves Immigration Law Group, Kuya Johan, consists of several lawyers. All the partners are immigration law specialists. This is what we do We don't do any other kind of law practice but for immigration, and this is our service sa ating mga kababayan. We have offices in the Pasadena, Los Angeles area. We have one in Makati, Walnut Creek, and here I'm based in San Francisco. So just call our office, and you can see our telephone sa screen po ninyo for consultation, and just mention PHLV Radio and we'll give you a discount. Again, maraming salamat Kuya Johan at sa lahat ng viewers and listeners natin. Mabuhay po tayong lahat.
Naku, mabuhay po kayo, Attorney Diza, and sa lahat po ng mga kababayang nakikinig at nanonood sa atin sa lahat ng platforms. Ilang araw na lang ay sa-celebrate na naman natin ang ating Independence Day. So, happy Independence Day po sa inyong lahat. Mula po sa amin dito sa Immigration Law on Your Side, sa PHLV Radio, and of course, from Reeves Immigration Law Group. Attorney, maraming salamat once again for giving us a wealth of information tonight on this episode. Ang pinag-usapan po natin ay ang RFE or Request for Evidence. Mangyaring balikan lamang po ang episode na ito at mag-comment kung meron po kayong mga additional questions, and asahan po niyong makakarating po ito sa opisina ni Attorney Diza. From Las Vegas, ito po si Kuya Yo from PHLV Radio Studio. Si Attorney Diza galing po sa San Francisco, California. Mga kaibigan, we will see you next time. Maraming salamat po.
Reeves Immigration Law Group has been representing immigrants for nearly 40 years. Reeves Immigration Law Group has been fighting for its clients through experience and expertise. With immigration lawyers you can access at reasonable fees, even on Saturday. Payment plans are also available. Call us for your immigration solutions. We can do worldwide telephone and Skype consultations. Reeves Immigration Law Group, 1-800-795-8009. Reeves Immigration Law Group has offices in Los Angeles, San Francisco, China, and Philippines. See us at www.rreeves.com. Reeves Immigration Law Group, 1-800-795-8009.
Reeves Immigration Law Group has just brought you Immigration Law on Your Side, Wednesdays 7 p.m. Pacific on PHLV Radio.